What is happening, gang? It's your boy DBGTX, and we are back with another Mobile Suit Gundam Evolution. That's right, Gundam Evolution. The beta test is right around the corner, the closed beta test. So if you have not subscribed or have not signed up for the beta test, I am letting you know right now, this is the perfect time to go ahead and sign up for this amazing 6v6 team co-op FPS game that is coming out here. It's going to be out obviously for the PS4, PS5. Is going to also be out for the PC. This game is going to revolutionize what Gundam is about. I am telling you guys right now, this game is going to revolutionize what Gundam is about, and you don't want to miss it. So please, 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 if you have a PC and you want to join the closed beta test, I am recommending you right now. You got to the 28th of March to sign up, and in the comment section, drop your name so I can go ahead and add you to my Steam so we could go ahead and play together, because I definitely want to play this Gundam game with all of my friends and folks here on the channel. Of course, Gundam has been out for the longest, playing battle operations. I've been playing pretty much the old school Gundams from the Super Nintendo days, the OG Gundam. I've played pretty much a lot of Gundam games in the past. Let's put it like that. Nonetheless, here we are with the latest iteration of Gundam, and this time the creators of the actual game have gone for the first-person shooter trend, but not just regular not just your regular old first-person shooter, like if you were playing, let's say for example, Call of Duty and just reskin with Mobile Suit Gundams. This is an Overwatch style Gundam game. So this is pretty much team versus team. It's set out and designed to be a competitive player game. Is supposed to be the next Overwatch iteration in the Overwatch kind of competitive scene. And funny enough, the moment that this game announced its closed beta, Overwatch 2 decided, or Blizzard decided to announce their Overwatch 2 beta and open beta and all that good stuff, or whatever the case might be. I guess they're ready to release Overwatch 2 on their end ever since this was announced. So it's something interesting, because now we're having a battle of two different but very similar games in that sense. That's the best way to put it. But here we are today talking about something major, which is the roster list, or at least the ones that have been announced thus far, because obviously there's much more to go. If you got anything from Overwatch, is that they can build a roster that can be formidable, and they're going to continue building on that roster. I think that Gundam is one of the games that has the ability to be able to do so, because of the endless, and I mean endless, amount of Gundams that they can add here, from the G Gundam series, from the Central Front series, from the old movie OVAs, you name it, they can add it, and they can go ahead and make it and customize it to a point where it's viable and playable and not broken, and no Gundam will feel the exact same way as the next one in that sense. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break down these units, what we got here. These the ones that are being shown on the official Gundam Evolution site. There are videos to them too, so we'll watch the videos and I'll kind of break down exactly how each Gundam is going to play. Of course, if you watch my first original Gundam trailer, I did kind of break down a little bit of them, but this particular video is going to go ahead and break it down even further. And now that we do have information on these Gundams, we do know what their G skills are, what their extra weapons are, and all that good stuff. So here we have from top to bottom, we're gonna go left to right. We do have the Marasai, the UC, which the difficulty is at 3 out of 4 star. Here we have the Gundam Exia, which is a total melee weapon. And I heard that this Gundam, although it says that the difficulty is 4 stars, I heard that the Gundam difficulty is actually not that bad, even with that rating. This is of course the RGM 79 or the GM 79. This is the standard stock mobile suits that are used for the war. Difficulty level 2, and then you have the gun tank, which is obviously the easiest one to be able to use in regards to mobility, in regards to a little bit of everything, because put it like that. Here we have the Turn A Gundam, which ironically I thought that this particular Gundam would be rated higher on the list in that sense, in the difficulty range. But when we watch the video, we will see exactly why this Gundam itself is easier to use than a lot of other Gundams in the game. Next, we have the Dom Trooper. This obviously is the rocket launcher guy. Easy to use, fast maneuverability, like I explained in the in my earlier video. And once we watch the videos, you'll see exactly what I mean by that. Then we have, of course, the Ashimar. The Ashimar seems to be one of the higher difficulty Gundams to master in this particular game, with a level star 3 out of 4. The GM Sniper, obviously sniper rifle Gundams or anything that's a sniper related, their difficulty is going to be higher because their maneuverability is probably going to suffer. But as far as your damage output in defense is going to be pretty much a tip scale. So your damage output is going to be high, but your defense level is probably going to be low. The Methus is another Gundam that they also said that is going to be a little bit difficult to master. Then we have the Sazabi. I knew that the Sazabi was going to be pretty much a lethal weapon, but as far as maneuverability, that's really where it's going to be at. Maneuverability is going to be a big thing for the Sazabi. Then they gave us the Gundam Barbatos. It is another melee only, just like the Gundam Exia. So these two right here are going to have, primarily when you're playing this game, using melee attack style units and players and things like that or whatever, it could be a give and take. It could be a give and take. If you're really good at the melee, if you're good at stabbing, you're good at running up on people, you're good at dodging and all that stuff, these Gundams are amazingly well built for you, and you got enough things to be able to go ahead and provide, you know, yourself a decent amount of not just only maneuverability, but ways to get around and do things. But in a phase forward match, or a straightforward match with any of the mid-range and long-range kind of units, you're gonna have issues no matter what. The Zaku 2, see, I called it in the last one. I said that the RG78 was gonna be mid-range, and that the Zaku 2 will also end up being considered the same kind of infantry style, but it's going to have a better gun, like I mentioned before. The melee on the RG78 is going to be better, but the gun on this one is going to be way better. So that they gave them the whole range difficulty, and of course a difficulty of 4 there. Here we have the RG78 here, which is the difficulty of 3. And the last one is the Pale Rider. I think that the Pale Rider particularly has been given the amount of stars that it rightfully deserve, because I think that a lot of people are going to ride the Pale Rider horse in order to develop their kill streaks. I don't know, they haven't given us much gameplay besides the basic gameplay, but from this point forward, we're gonna go ahead and watch these trailers and see exactly what we're getting from each and every Gundam. So let's go ahead and see exactly what we got. First and foremost, we got the MRS 108 Marasai, the UC Marasai, of course. This is the mid-range. This is the mid-range specialist. HP at 1200 and a dash limit of 2. What the dash limit means is that throughout the cooldown period, because you do have a cooldown period on certain weapons, certain attributes, certain things that you can use throughout the match or throughout the matchup as you spawn and respawn and whatnot. One of those things is the dash limit, how many times you can dash to the side, dash up, float, so on and so forth. Is something that's being incorporated in this, and a lot of units have different dash limits. The mid-range Marasai here has a dash limit of 2, and there they give you kind of a synopsis of where it was developed. Down here is the weapons and skills of everything that we got here. So first and foremost, we have the main weapon, which is the Fedayeen rifle, as you guys can see there in the video. And let me move myself over to the left. There we go. Here in the video, we have the Fedayeen rifle shown how it's used as a mid-range weapon. It does take 2 tacks off the actual enemy. He's shooting the enemy and is taking off 2 tacks, which means that in the mid-range, this guy is going to deliver heavy duty damage. Of course, it's a steady recoil as you guys read the sub action and the main action. You can go ahead and do a sub action with the weapon, which steadies the recoil, meaning that the Gundam grabs the gun at the front when you look down the mid-range, and then it improves the hitbox and the damage, of course. Next, we have the G maneuver. The G maneuver are techniques that each Gundam particularly has attributed to them from the series. So this G maneuver, for example, here is called the Sea Snake, and it's just basically paralysis or shock, as you guys see in the video here. You release a high voltage called the Sea Snake slash that damages and stuns the enemy unit. So the damage output is not going to be that much. It's probably going to be trash, between like 2 to 3 bars. But then when you do use the maneuver, if you have a wide range of opponents in front of you, it'll shock them, causing the opponents, unfortunately, not to be able to move, which you could be able to follow up, as you guys see in the video, with additional shots to that particular character. Active skills is the Beam Blade. The Beam Blade is a close-up melee weapon. The weapon itself has a pushback feature, so essentially, if the character gets a little bit too close, you could go ahead and use the Beam Blade, which will knock the character back, take about 3 bars of damage, and from there you can switch back into blasting the character from the hip with the Fedayeen rifle. The second active skill that you have, of course, is called the Sea Snake and Snare. Now, I say of course because if you do know this Gundam, you know that this is one of the most iconic maneuvers that he does have, or techniques that was used with the unit. So Sea Snake Snare, which Sea Snake Snare and Snare, what it does is it uncoils a wire and basically is the scorpion of "come over here," and brings the unit closer to you, while also causing damage to the unit, 3 bars of damage. While bringing them close, you could go ahead and use the active skill 2 mixed in with the active skill 1, and then go proceedingly into the Fedayeen rifle. That does cause a lot of damage. You could also mix it up and mix and match between popping a few times with the Fedayeen rifle, then going into the Sea Snake shock, pulling them in close, hitting them again with the Fedayeen rifle Beam Blade, and then popping them off again with some Fedayeen rifle blast rounds. Of course, you don't have to do it in that order. You can mix and match, and that's the beauty of this game. And we're gonna go ahead and build on that particular momentum and talk about the Gundam Exia. The Gundam Exia is a close range weapon, like I mentioned in the first video before, and in that sense, of course, we knew that the hit was going to be taken here on the HP status. Now, of course, as a benefit, you still do get a dash limit of 3. So that means that your movement is going to be extremely well, and you don't have to worry about getting caught up in a corner, or getting, when you're surrounded, thinking that you may not be able to escape. But remember, high risk rewards and damage equals high low defense output. So higher defensive output Gundam would have, for example, 2-3 hits, well, 4 hits to 5 hits to be able to kill him. This Gundam is probably will be able to only take maybe a maximum of 2 to 3 hits from a very strong weapon or a very strong Gundam. If it's any of the melee Gundam or close range weapon Gundams, close range Gundams, more than likely is going to kill him in 1 or 2 hits. This guy is souped up to the max. Now that's another bigger difference, again, like I mentioned, from one Gundam to the other, is that if you have less on certain things, they're going to add more on other stuff. So here in this particular example with the Gundam Exia, you have the GN beam dagger, which is essentially it's like a throwing knife kind of thing. These are unlimited, so you could continue tossing them, and again, they do take pretty decent damage, and of course these are long range, so you should be able to go ahead and perform in the long range based off that. But compared to everybody else who have beam rifles and other weapons that could cause stagger or back hit, this particular weapon does not cause either or. On the flip side, you do have the sub weapon, which is the GN sword Russian slash, which as you can read there, if you guys are reading, it says move forward and strike an enemy unit, power and movement range increases with charge time. So this is a charge move. If you charge it up, you could go ahead and cover much more ground. If you don't charge it up, you could use it as a regular melee. Either way, it's still high put damage, 3 to 4 bars. The more you charge it, the more you're gonna get, obviously, as far as that goes. Easily used and mixed with the dash boost limits that you have. So you have three different dashes, obviously, or 3 different boost limits. You can mix this particular combination in with the dash boost to be able to high maneuver and get from one point to the other point to the other point, or from one target to the next target to the next target. So I'm really looking forward to the Gundam Exia in regards to figuring out how all of this is going to link up and how they're going to be able to work, how it's going to work intricately. But let's move on to the G maneuver, which is called the Trans AM. And the Trans AM tells you right there, it says that the temporary Trans AM mode changes the effect of sub actions and active abilities. So essentially, if you're looking at the active abilities and whatnot, you have to look exactly what kind of active ability you have, which is kind of telling me that although this particular Gundam has 3 active skills, for example, you're only going to be able to use 2 out of 3. So in that sense, what I think happens is that if they use the Trans AM, right, in this regards for active skill 1 and 2, whatever you have as active skill 1 and 2, active skill 3 is what the Trans AM is going to allow you to unlock and whatnot. Another thing is, as you guys see in the video, as you do use the Trans AM, it does change the way the attack comes out, or maybe perhaps does damage. But we will have to go ahead and wait till we actually get our hands on the Gundam Exia in order to be able to figure that out. Active skill, you do have the quick step. So the quick step allows you to leap a set distance in any directions. The Trans AM cooldown time is reduced and the number of ability users increases. So if you activate Trans AM, this is the sub effect to it. You're allowed to do quick step up to 3 times, more than likely. And the active skill 2, like I mentioned, they do have sub effects. So Trans AM activated plus trans effect allows you to do certain things. So the GN sword and GN short blade spin and slash. The spin and slash attacks the unit that you're attacking, obviously, and does a knockback attack very similar to the Fian rifle beam blade. Targets who get hit with that suffer additional stun, like it states there. So this is one of those things where we say that as far as similarities in regards to what they do, a lot of these active skills are going to have very similar effects. So is it going to be shock? Is it going to be burn? Is it going to be, you know, radius, so on and so forth. So this is very similar to, again, like I said, the beam rifle. It knocks the character back, stuns them, and allows you to go ahead and do follow-ups. Mix that in with some quick steps. You could easily do back-to-back GN sword and GN short blade into quick step, GN short into short blade, especially if you're able to do it once, twice, activate the Trans AM, hit that. Skill number 3 is the GN beam saber, only available in Trans AM mode. So essentially, when you turn on the Trans AM, it gives you access to this 3rd skill. Like I mentioned before, this is only a transformation mode only, and when you get hit with that technique, it deals up to 4 to 5 bars of damage, which is interesting. Now, what you gotta wonder is, being in trans AM mode and using these techniques, does the cooldown with the technique while you're in trans AM continue to be not endless, but in a short time span? Whereas, so for example, the original cooldown, let's say it'd be about 8 seconds, right? If you're in trans AM, will that cooldown turn into 4 seconds? Because then it allows you to do doom 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 combo, boom, GM blade, cross blade, doom doom combo, GM blade, cross blade kind of thing. So it's an interesting thing to question, I guess, in that regard. Nonetheless, I am really looking forward to seeing exactly how the Gundam Exia is going to be playing against the competition. Of course, with that 800 HP bar, I think that this is one of the Gundams that I'll probably try to stay away from at first until I get my feet wet, and that's just me. But hey, you know, if you're that kind of guy that you like, you know, living life on the edge, I think that the Gundam Exia is probably the best way to go. Finally, for the third video here, or the third Gundam that we're going to be looking at, or unit, is going to be the RGM 79 or the GM. I'm only going to go ahead and do 3 units per video, so that way we have more content to talk about, for one, and two, me not have you sitting here an entire hour literally having me talk about Gundams and units. I don't think you guys like that, but if you do like that, make sure you hit the like in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this video breakdown, and hopefully we get to 100 likes in this video. So I think that's the goal. So make sure you go ahead and hit the like. This is the RGM 79. RGM 79 here is a close range fighter. Of course, he has the shield, but I didn't really think that he would be a close range. His HP is at 800, just like the Gundam Exia, and the dash limit is 1. He is unique because of the simple fact that he does have the GM shield with him, and this shield regenerates. So if you get it destroyed, it takes some time, it takes some cooldown, but eventually the shield comes back. You're able to regenerate it. Difficulty to use this Gundam is at 2, like I mentioned before, but I think that this is going to have a lot of major issues, or this can be very good if you can combine the shield and the HP together, which obviously will be way more than the Gundam Exia at that point. So this is, again, here some details about it being the main mobile suit of the Federal Forces, or Federation Forces at the time. I'm gonna skip the rest of it. If you guys want to read it, you guys can read it. It is at GundamEvolution.com. That is the official page. But here we go. We have the weapons and skills section in the video, of course, here to the right. First one is the beam spray gun. So there's the main action, a reliable close range pistol with 0 accuracy loss. So that means that as long as you're in close range, you're able to go ahead and pop them and take massive damage. So even though the rifle looks like a rifle, it's not a rifle, it's an actual pistol apparently. You do have the sub action. The sub action allows you to put the shield in front and absorb damage on the shield, so that's an additional 1300 damage for you to get up close and personal. But the shield itself also has a skill where you can use it and push the person that you are fighting against backwards, and it causes stagger. Now, I saw that in the video. Let's see if I'm correct. Here we have the G maneuver, which is called the homing mines. So these in particular, you set them up, set them out, and you wait for the opponent to either come towards you, or in the general area when you know there's going to be a lot of opponents, you set them up, because then the homing mines, like I mentioned in my first video, I keep referring to my first video, and if you guys haven't watched it, I am going to post it in the comments section. Show some love to the first video of Gundam Evolution and what I thought in my breakdown. But the G maneuver, the homing mines, generally used to put in a blast radius in case the competition is becoming fierce. You could hit multiple targets, maybe, you know, take out 1 or 2 to help your team take advantage of the melee. Now, you do have this skill, active skill 1, like I mentioned before. You can use skill bat, it's called shield bash. You can charge a short distance forward with your shield to deal damage. So essentially, you're able to dash slightly forward. It's not a long distance. It doesn't cover a big distance like the other Gundams that I mentioned before. But this one covers a short distance, and it does do a pushback. It does not stun, unfortunately. I wish it would have. that would have definitely been a very good buff to this character, because even though you're short range and whatnot, pushing them back is just gonna allow them to come on back on to you. And if your shield's already low, they're gonna pop the shield and then pop your ass. That's just my opinion. On to the next active skill, we do have the detonator bomb. The detonator bomb, as you guys can see, you control it. So it's essentially like one of those C4s. You put them down, you press the button. The button covers a medium range of attack, and thus causing all the units in that particular vicinity to take massive damage, as you guys see here in this video, so on and so forth. Last but not least is the active skill 3. The active skill 3 is called repair grenade. So this is one of the trickiest things and confusing things about this. As an active skill 3, it's kind of pointing at that the GM itself is more of a healer slash controller. Does that make any sense? Versus it being an actual close range. And what that means is, for example, this repair grenade will be more on a healer Gundam than on him. But generally you could go, but as you guys see here, that breaks kind of the code. And this Gundam in particular has a repair grenade. So if you're around squad and you're defending the squad with your shield and you throw the repair grenade, it does heal anybody that's there in the vicinity. Does it heal yourself? Yes, it actually does. If you guys check at the bottom left corner here, when I throw the repair grenade for the video, the actual life goes down first. And then when you use it, it starts healing him or her immediately. So it's a good kind of thing to have in order to be able to kind of mix and match in regards to your offensive flow and your healing flow. I just don't know how cluttered that can be in regards to what your role is supposed to be when you're using this particular Gundam, if that makes sense. So this Gundam could be a healer, this Gundam could be a short range specialist, this Gundam could be a controller. Those three things are separate in this game, or in a lot of these games, they're separate identities, but this Gundam could be a little bit of everything. Unfortunately, he's not going to be a mid-range, but as far as everything else, being a healer, being a close range, so on and so forth, and eccentric, those things, you're going to get it with this particular Gundam. And I think that makes the sauce that's being given to us way different than what we got, of course, in the times of Overwatch, where one character was designed to be a healer and at the beginning. And obviously at one point or another, they probably switched a few things up so they could be able to be more characteristically lined up to be able to do more on the other ends, like the mid-range and all that stuff. But this game is clearly telling you that don't see these Gundams as what it's reading there. Use them primarily as what you get there, as for example, this one, a close range specialist, but you could use this one exactly as a hold a down fort kind of Gundam and healing Gundam as well. So that's really where we're at, and that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please show some love in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the Marasai, the Gundam Exia, and the GM. And we will be back soon with the second video, where we're gonna go ahead and break down the gun tank, the Turn 8 Gundam, the Dom Trooper, of course, with the difficulty and everything else that's included with it. Make sure you go ahead and hit the sub, the like, the share, the thumbs up, and we'll come back and talk to each other next time. Peace out.